Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions. And today's focus, we're going to talk with the Chief Marketing Officer, Kayla George, from JAG Physical Therapy. And Kayla is a seasoned marketing and PR executive with over a decade of experience in leading healthcare brands. And at JAG Physical Therapy, she's been the driving force behind a multi-channel marketing strategy that's helped position the company as an industry leader in a very highly competitive space in the Northeast. And from brand architecture and digital strategy to mergers and acquisitions integration and community management, Kayla has shaped the way JAG connects with patients and grows its footprint. So I'm excited to dive into how she and her team have built JAG's market-leading presence and what smaller clinics can learn from their playbook. So Kayla, welcome to the podcast. Tell me a little bit about your story. How did you become the Chief Marketing Officer at JAG Physical Therapy, and what does that evolution look like?
Well, I've been at JAG for a lifetime. This is my 15th year with the company. So very early on, like right out of college, I was a business major. I was a student athlete growing up. I played soccer. So when I went to school, I was like, I want to work in athletics in some way, shape, or form. Definitely thought I wanted to be in the front office, and learned very quickly that that wasn't the case. So I graduated, I worked for a sports marketing agency, and JAG was actually one of my clients. So I had about 10 to 13 clients that I worked on a day to day basis. And I just immediately fell in love with the brand. Back then, when I was at the agency, John was really just starting the company. He had his, first facility in West Orange, then expanded to Warren, New Jersey. And that's really when I took over the account when he opened the second location, opened a third location in Hackensack. And then when it was time for number 4, we would meet on a regular basis. And he kind of brought me in and gave me his grand plan. And these were some big dreams. And I was still young, like really learning my way and, what I want to do. But every time I walked into the clinic and walked into JAG, the atmosphere really got me. The motivation, the patience, obviously being a student athlete myself and having my fair share of physical therapy was something I was very passionate about. And I kind of understood the experience and what it did for me as an athlete. And then being able to go in the clinic and see what it does for the general population, grandma, grandpa, someone that just had surgery. It was something I, was immediately drawn to. So he gave me this grand plan. He's like, in 10 years, we're going to be this big company. We're going to be multi-location. We're going to be multi-state. And, he was like, join me, join the team. So I went home, I slept on it, and I was like, either this guy is crazy or like if half of what he says comes true, I'll be in a really good position. And at the end of the day, I love the brand. I love the people. And I was like, let's just see where this takes me. And I have been here ever since. It has been quite the journey. I have done more roles within a marketing realm at JAG than I ever thought imaginable. And I have a very unique opportunity, and I'm very honored and understand that I'm very blessed to be at a company that I was able to really build from the ground up and kind of take this department and mold it around, different ideas and visions that I've had, obviously alongside John and the company's growth plan. But I know it's very rare to start somewhere very young and be able to grow and evolve as the company has grown and evolved. So that's my story. As of right now, I obviously oversee everything related to marketing, communications, PR, sales, but I am also very entrenched with our strategic corporate initiatives and our growth vision moving forward.
Yeah, and that's probably one of those things that as the clinic evolves, right, and you need more and more business systems in it, that you have to know those, like, be more strategic, right, from especially from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, and you know what? Marketing in general has obviously evolved a lot through the years. Like when I started, digital marketing was like a banner ad. And what it is today is very different. And the data insights we have today just weren't available. They didn't exist when I started with JAG. So kind of learning on the fly and and understanding the new tools and resources we have as marketers and people that develop business. It's been a great ride and definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, you're so right with that, like how that's evolved, and the tools and the data that we have at our fingertips today is pretty amazing. And so for you, what do for our listeners out there, JAG Physical Therapy is in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, sort of the Northeast there. I think you have over 100 locations, is that right?
Yes, we have over 160 locations. We will close out the year around the 170 mark. And so we've been in a high growth phase for quite some time now.
That's fantastic. And so has the expansion there of JAG been through a lot of acquisition?
We have both a de novo and acquisition strategy. I would say mostly through de novo, although we have closed a good amount of acquisitions to date. Very different in terms of how we look at the strategy and continue to grow. But the basis of our growth is surrounded by our people. So, very early on, John had a wonderful group of clinicians, and he said to himself, like, how do I continue to give them development opportunities and room for growth? If I don't do that and if I don't provide those outlets, I'm going to lose some really great people or have them pigeonholed in a place where financially and professionally they're kind of just stuck, and either they make the decision that, like, hey, this is what we're doing, or they have to move forward and make the hard decision to leave. So he wanted to base the company around our people and provide really good opportunity to those that very well deserved it. So that's been really the basis of our growth strategy, taking the people that we have and giving them the opportunity to open up their new clinics. And as we started going down that path, we realized it wasn't just an opportunity for our employees for professional development, but also for the patients to be able to provide our high quality care to even more communities and more populations. We're an in-network company, and we are a care first company. Our CEO is a practicing physical therapist and athletic trainer. So really the core of our values surrounds that patient experience. And the fact of the matter is patients need convenience and they need affordability. And as an in-network company, our multi-location model and our growth model has really been, how do we meet the patients where they are? And that's opening up more facilities so that, the patients don't have to drive 10, 15, 20 miles to seek our care. We have one essentially in every community. And that's really where we're continuing to grow. And we're, of course, multi state, but there's still a lot of room for growth in the 3 states that we're in.
That's awesome. And that really intrigued me, the way that you were talking about um, the giving the opportunities to the clinicians, right, within, and to your employees. And I think that sometimes, for smaller practices, whether they're 1, 2, 3, 4 location practice, they sometimes think, well, should I open that next practice location, or should I make that acquisition, or what should should I really take that leap and push harder forward, or should I just kind of do what I am doing and kind of stay with where I am? But I think it brings a good point that, in order to bring the best people to you and get them to stay with you, they want opportunities for growth too. And so being forward thinking, being visionary, taking risk, growing your practice, you can surround yourself with great people that help you move forward.
Exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head with taking risk. Of course, it's a risk to open up new locations, especially in an industry that's so saturated, right? There's physical therapy everywhere. But what makes you different? What, processes and foundation do you have in order to feel comfortable taking that risk? And then the rewards there on the back end.
Definitely. And you were speaking to really getting to know sort of your patients, your avatar, and wanting convenience, right? Wanting the ability to go different places. So for you, what as a marketing, what do you like to hone in on? It might be different depending on the area, but what do you like to hone in on there from a avatar perspective, like with your patients?
Yeah, I mean, as marketers today, we have so many tools and resources at our fingertips. I tell people all the time, and especially when I'm speaking with fellow marketers that might, be at an introductory phase or launching a new business, and they don't have, all these bells and whistles. They might not have a CRM, but as healthcare marketers in particular, we have our EMR. So that, holds information about every single one of our patients. So even if I didn't have a CRM, which is, marketing database, marketing tools, I still have that foundational aspect of who my patients are, what are they coming in for? How long is their length of stay? Where do they live? NPS scores. How do they feel about their experience? And even if I just take that introductory data and look at it, which I look at it at least on a daily basis to understand trends, it tells you a lot about not only your current population, but where there might be room and opportunity for growth. And we use that not only to market to our employees, but also to do market research on, hey, where do we need to open more facilities? Where is there a population that we're seeing some success, but we see that there's a need, whether that's, that the clinics are almost filling to capacity and we need another one in that town or accompanying town, or an injury or ailment that we're seeing fill up very fast, which has attributed to our growth of service lines from just, PT to hand therapy to vestibular therapy to pelvic floor therapy, and really understanding those patients' wants, needs, who's your current patient base, and where is their opportunity for growth. I live in that space currently, but 15 years ago, I didn't. So those tools weren't available to us. I had to do a lot more collaboration with our physical therapists, with our patients in the clinic, really understanding what their experience is, what are they looking for, why did they choose us. So a lot more time and effort to get that data, which is now available at the click of a button and really allows marketers the flexibility to be innovative, learn, and set growth models moving forward.
That's fantastic, and you bring up such great points there. And that obviously, as a much bigger enterprise, clinics, you have to have that data to make decisions across everything, right? And so if you're a growing practice, in order for you to make the right decisions, you've got to have the right data. And often we don't think of necessarily the market data as valuable as some of the in-clinic metrics of like visits and things like that. But it's really fascinating that you point that out, because that marketing data and what you're gathering from the EMR allows you to make decisions of where do you open, right? And where can you put more emphasis, or where would there be more need or demand? So I find that very fascinating at that large level, because you have to make those better data decisions basically, right? And then how you can incorporate that thinking that way, probably from a smaller clinic perspective.
Absolutely. And even with all the data we have at our fingertips, there's still a strong need to collaborate internally, not just with the clinicians and the clinical team, but also with the patient access or administrative teams to really understand, like, this is what I'm seeing from a data standpoint, and asking those pointed questions to really understand what exactly is happening. Because the data might say something, but there's always a piece of the puzzle that you might be missing. So having that open communication and team-based approach is something that we've done really well here at JAG and has attributed to our success, but it's something especially for small businesses where you only have maybe one or two clinics to manage. Having those conversations and that ongoing collaboration is critical.
Absolutely. Now, for you in JAG, obviously you built really a well-known brand there, but can you give us some kind of insights into how you've looked at the brand of JAG and the context of physical therapy in general to the public, and kind of what your approach to that?
A brand, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're a large business, small business, mom and pop, your brand is your identity. It is what the community, your patients, your clients, that is what they need to know about you, what you stand for, what makes you different. And that's really consistency across the board. So, I work with a lot of clinicians and they haven't went to business school. So I do, brand work all the time and storytelling and letting them know I'm really not just being a pain. I don't want this wall to be red and I don't want the logo to look like this for my health. There's a reason behind it. And there's a reason why me and my team are walking into the clinics and having these conversations because the brand is our identity. I can't be selling something externally or being on the radio or having our digital marketing say X, Y, and Z and look and feel a certain way if that is not the service that we're delivering, if that is not the experience that we're selling. So that cohesive branding, the consistency, the frequency, the visibility, that all plays a key factor. And I am incredibly OCD, as are most marketers, on the brand and what that stands for. And we've really created systems and guidance and tools to be able to not only feed to our marketing teams, but throughout the entire organization. This is how you talk about the brand. This is how you represent yourselves in the community. If we're out tabling at a charitable event or a 5K or an educational conference, this is what you need to bring. This is what you need to talk about. This is how you need to look and present yourself. So it's all about that consistency and really creating this is who we are as an identity and being able to grow and evolve that. And at JAG, I've had the unique opportunity that we've evolved the brand several times. So when I first joined the company years and years ago, we had these little figures. We had a golfer, a tennis player, very athletic focused. So very early on when I came in, I kind of took the logo and adapted it in a way where we weren't necessarily just focusing on athletics. JAG was a brand for the people, for every walk of life, not just athletic or sports physical therapy. So we adapted things that way. Our CEO, who's still very involved in our marketing, but he was like the only voice in our marketing. His picture was on everything. And as we started to open multi-sites, I said, well, John, you can't treat everybody. So we have to kind of broaden this a little bit. Of course, he's always the voice. He is truly the pioneer behind our brand and behind our company, but we were growing and we needed to be able to showcase that. So branding is everything. Definitely be strategic in that and set your brand goals and guidelines and stick to them. And for us, we rebranded a couple years ago back in 2018 to JAG Physical Therapy. That was adopted as part of a merger. So JAG Physical Therapy merged with one-on-one physical therapy, which gave us our foundation for our New York footprint. So we changed it to JAG 1, which worked for a couple years, but then we started to continue growing and acquire other companies. And we were much more than JAG Physical Therapy and one-on-one physical therapy. So we went back to the old JAG PT. So I have done more rebranding than I wish to talk about or I ever wanted to take on. But it's all been a learning experience and something that not only did I have the opportunity to learn and adopt and innovate, but it allowed our company and our clinicians, as you know, we were in high growth phase, to really grow and understand this is what it all means. And I feel like we've done a lot of education, and our clinicians and our patient access reps, they're all part of it, and they have all bought into the brand. So I consider myself very lucky, although it was a very enduring year and a half, to have to rebrand over 100 facilities, but we're on the other side of it.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
That is a huge lift. But it brings up a good point there that like your brand, it should evolve with the company. It should, like brands do change over time, except for even Coca-Cola changes occasionally, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's okay to realize like, hey, we can evolve the way that we look, the way we feel, the way our company has evolved. So should what we're looking in. You bring up a great point too. Like brand is not just the way that you just look, right? It's that whole patient experience. And so, really looking at that whole patient experience, the feel of everything within the clinic, how people speak, how people present the company to the customers, like all of that is part of your branding. And you've done a fantastic job there. It sounds like of all the standard operating procedures of how people present the brand to the communities, right? And then that's the way to scale your practice. And it's interesting hearing too, like obviously as you've done acquisitions too, how you've incorporated brands or even change brands to fit. And we work with a lot of companies that do acquire other clinics, and so that there's kind of two ways that people do it. One is either they just keep all of the clinic branding and they just have multiple companies basically underneath them, and then they have ones that acquire into them. So just kind of curious from your standpoint, as you've acquired clinics, what does that look like for you as you've acquired brands, bringing brands into the JAG brand, JAG PT brand? Just curious to your experience on that.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that question because very early on, like right before we made our first acquisition, that was a big conversation. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to rebrand them to JAG Physical Therapy? Are we going to operate other brands under a big JAG umbrella? What does that mean from a branding standpoint, an investment standpoint, a digital marketing standpoint? So a lot of that was considered. And listen, if you talk to 10 different marketers, five of us are going to, vote on bring everything under one brand, and five of us are going to say manage as, a parent company, but keep the existing brands as is in local markets. And I'm not sure there's a right answer, but for us at JAG, it was bring everyone under the JAG umbrella, adopt the JAG Physical Therapy name, but also be aware and learn from the current brands, right? You're acquiring a practice because you saw something special in them. You shared a mission and values. You wanted them to be part of your team. But if you go in and just rip the Band-Aid off and not learn from maybe the local market that they're in or what they've developed and created over the last X amount of years, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So even when we acquire companies, it's a multi-stage process. It's a learning process. I want to know everything about their brands and what they created and what their mission and values are. And how do we incorporate that under the JAG Physical Therapy name? And while JAG PT might be the name on the door, there are certain things that the local communities and local clinicians have that keep their patients coming back year over year. So with every acquisition, it's a learning experience for me and my team, and I'm constantly taking initiatives and things that some of our acquired companies have done and incorporate them into our strategy. And we do also have a process. I don't go in day one and rip the name and legacy off the door. These are conversations that happen pre-close. They understand the why behind it, and they also understand the time frame. I'm not going in day one and changing all the signs. That takes a couple months to kind of percolate. We work on that together. We work on the signage. All of our messaging, we never use the word acquired. It joins our team, joins our family. Because we want it to be a cohesive experience. And as someone that owns and manages and develops a brand, it is something that is incredibly important. And a lot of people have a lot of value in it. It's like their baby, especially these sellers. They're joining JAG for a reason, but at the end of the day, they might have created this company 30 years ago and poured all their blood, sweat, and tears. And the last thing they want is for me to walk in and just remove that right away. So there's a lot of conversations surrounding the why, surrounding the strategy, and there's also a lot of learning so that we can continue to grow and innovate and make our brand stronger by bringing in these practices that we see value in. And I do want to learn from the sellers, and I do also want to learn from their up and coming PTs on, what they're looking for in a brand, in a company, what they want to stand for, so that we continue to grow a brand and a company that we're all proud of and aren't kind of stuck and stale, but remain innovative and constantly learning and developing.
That's fascinating. And so I'm curious too that you had mentioned, obviously for employees and bringing that, like working with the PTs in those acquisitions. So you've obviously done a tremendous amount of work for branding JAG, and then obviously as you brought in clinics to help with the transition of the branding there too. Have you in recent years focused the branding part not only just for new patients but also for hiring and growing the team?
Absolutely. I do a ton of collaboration with our human resources and our clinical leads. Even upon onboarding, I am very involved in what that looks like, what the process looks like, what the materials look like. Because from day one, we want them to know why JAG Physical Therapy is different. What are our missions? What are our values? What do we bring to the table? Because we want to create that sense of belonging, and our employees should be proud to work for us and truly understand what we stand for. And if they don't buy in on day one, then they're probably not a great fit. We're doing them a disservice by not showing them this is the JAG Physical Therapy experience and this is what is expected. And these are the tools and resources that we're going to provide you to continue to grow and develop your practice. So on day one, even throughout all of our recruiting materials before employees are chosen for that interview, I am very involved in that process, the messaging, what it looks like, what it feels like, what the process is. Because at the end of the day, we want to attract employees that buy into that mission and want to be a part of JAG Physical Therapy for the long run. So there's a ton of collaboration there. I have learned a lot, especially with HR and recruitment. And, that's a new world and there's new tools there every day, just as there is in marketing. But that collaboration is key, not only to ensuring a positive experience for our patients, but also these new employees coming in, that they feel a sense of belonging and that they're part of something that's much bigger than themselves or their clinic.
Love it. And that's one thing that we're really trying to promote for practices too, is like the world changed tremendously in the last 5 years when it came to the need for clinicians and great staff, right? And so having to make marketing and HR work together like they haven't before. And certainly the bigger that the company becomes, the more that function needs to occur together, because you can't have a tremendous amount of turnover and grow your business. So I love what you've done there, and again, listening to you about the brand part and how you've really incorporated that, tied in with the hiring aspect too. So you have a lot of different marketing channels, and obviously being influencers everywhere. I'm curious for you, has there been a kind of a couple of channels or premium marketing channels that you found to work the best for your JAG Physical Therapy?
Absolutely. So, if you talk to any marketer and they tell you that 100% of their spend, they're able to track ROI or return on that investment down to the dollar, they're lying to you. So I'm going to be very honest in that. And I think there's two main channels that when I look at my marketing budget and our strategy, there's two that we regularly invest in that bring us the biggest return. One is black and white, super measurable digital marketing. I know exactly the dollars I'm investing, the channels I'm investing in, and what the return is on that channel. The other one, more so gray area, is our grassroots marketing. And that has been something that has been the fabric of JAG Physical Therapy's success back when we had one location. And we had, I can't even tell you my budget, but it was next to nothing. And it was like, here's, this small pot of money, do something with it. And as outpatient physical therapy, we know we don't have to cast a super wide net. If you have one facility, you're really only going to grab between 3 to 5 mile radius. And this is based in the Northeast where we are, just based on the convenience, the population density, and the fact that there is ample PT and we know simple human behavior. So for us, it was, let's do grassroots marketing. Let's invest in our communities. Let's make those strong ties, because that's going to be the population that we serve. And even to this day, there's things we know. Listen, we're out here, we get 10 patients every year, home run. But there's things that we do to support. Maybe it's a local nonprofit, or maybe it's a local school that's, doing a first time fundraising initiative, that we want to be there and we want to support. And when we say that we want to be a resource to our local communities, that's exactly what that means. And it's not always just throwing sponsorship dollars. It's, sending out a PT to do some stretching, or to do an injury prevention educational seminar for a group of seniors that are about to get total joint replacements. So there's a lot of community engagement, and that is and always has been at the fabric of JAG Physical Therapy strategy, and really has been one of the driving forces in making us successful. Back when we had one facility to over 160 today, that is still something that is our bread and butter. It is still something that we are investing our money, time, resources in. And it is probably the number one thing that we preach and collaborate and teach to our clinicians. Yes, JAG is the name on the door, but we are here to service a community. And this is how you do it. This is how you build your practice within our brand. And this is the expectation. We're not just preaching it, we are making sure we back that up in every way, shape, and form possible. So when you look at our two biggest buckets, digital, obviously very black and white, and then a little bit more in the gray area, but we know what works is our grassroots marketing.
Love it. I can't agree more. That's like so powerful. And sometimes we could just want to chase the new patients, right? We're just chasing those new patients. We think digital marketing is the end all be all of everything, but we don't really pay as much attention to those grassroots efforts, right? That are harder to measure, but they do have a broader influence, and using our customer base to, get network and be part of different community events like you mentioned there. I think that's so critical. And with that, like you've obviously worked with a lot of clinics as you've acquired them and different brands and things like that. So I'm curious, what piece of marketing strategy do you think most PT clinics overlook today?
I would say the one piece that people often overlook is public relations and the power of that. And it's not always paid either. There is a way to get your voice and expertise out there, but there is nothing like having someone else vouch for your business or lend to your area of expertise or tell your story, right? You could say till you're blue in the face, we're the best, come to JAG because of X, Y, and Z. But to have that validation from an outside source is often overlooked because a lot of people think you need to invest in this huge PR agency, which they do have tremendous amount of value, but that's for a bigger company. If you're a 1 to 2 man clinic, 1 to 2 locations, looking to make a splash out there, there's a lot of ways that you could make your voice heard, set yourself apart, and lend to your own PR, whether that's through influencer marketing or there's even local digital publications where you could go and write columns. But to be able to have someone else vouch for your business is huge, and something that a lot of small practices and even bigger companies overlook.
Yeah, and I see the clinics that are very successful are the ones that do put that effort into PR, which is really PR is getting your good works well known, right? So the things that you do, the amazing stories that you have within the clinic, all those great outcomes that you have, how well are you telling those to the world, right, in the community? And then what are the people saying about you from the results that you're getting? So you have to be able to promote that, and you also have to get people to be able to say those wonderful things about you and tell those stories from within the clinic. And that's it takes a little bit of effort, but it doesn't take a lot of money, right, to do that kind of stuff. And getting reviews is one of those components of PR, right?
Right. And now with video marketing, social media marketing, I remember we used to have our patients write in their testimonials. There's nothing better than hearing a patient's story. And we see so many different stories. What about the young child that got hit by a car that was told, hey, you're never going to walk again? And then seeing that child graduate and walk themselves out of those doors. Like, that is the type of stuff that gives you goosebumps. And those are the stories, like, marketers are never going to be able to kind of bottle that up and do that themselves. They need that validation, and they need those patients and community members to really say, like, this is what JAG did for me. This is what XYZ company did for me. And, like you said, some of it is no cost. It's just a little bit of effort.
Definitely. And so you've been with JAG quite a while now, and obviously built up the brand, built up the business there. And so I'm curious for you, we talked about how fast the marketing has changed in this crazy world. And so for you, what do you like to do to stay current? Like, what kind of books or podcasts or gurus do you like to follow?
Yeah, so I have three young children with a fourth on the way, and I am all over the place. I am also not one that sits still. So I have to admit, I am not a huge book person. I try to listen to podcasts in the car, but a lot of what I do to grow and evolve and continue learning is number one, LinkedIn, because it's local people, local stories, connections that I've made over the years. So I am constantly on LinkedIn and I'm always looking at new articles and opinions. I also subscribe to Marketing Brew, which is essentially like a daily newsletter on marketing. I also subscribe to Healthcare Brew, which gives you like a daily rundown of everything that's going on in healthcare. So I live by those because it takes me 5 minutes to read them. It comes delivered to my inbox. So those are really the two avenues that I go to continue learning and evolving. And then I would say once per quarter, I really dive in and do research on industry trends, marketing trends. I do try to attend at least 1 to 2 conferences a year, whether it's strictly business related or marketing niche related, to understand new products, developments, etc. So I wouldn't say I am someone that gets to read or listen to podcasts every day. I wish I had more time, but those are my tools that I use frequently, and I continue to try to grow and develop them every year. But the marketing brew I think is great because again, 5 minutes to your inbox every day. I at least learn one new thing every single day.
I love it. And congratulations on the fourth child there. So 4 kids, chief marketing officer, 100 location practice, 160 location practice, right? Pretty impressive accomplishments there for you, Kayla. So I'm curious, one would be, as you've worked with different practices over time, having a marketing director really can help you grow your business. And I'm curious when you think that is the right time for a practice to bring on someone to focus on growing their marketing.
I would say early on. I would say even a one facility practice, whether that's someone that has multiple roles. So when I first came at JAG, of course, I oversaw marketing, but I was also doing a bunch of other administrative tasks that I never went to school for, had to learn on the fly and kind of grow and develop it and develop a lot of different skill sets. So I think to have someone, whether you want to call them strictly a marketer or you want to use them in a dual role for various things, to have someone that's always focused on marketing and advancing your brand and creating business development opportunities, I think is key. Even if you're an established practice that has been around 30 years and has this great loyal patient base, I always think that there's room for development to continue growing your business and evolve your business. So marketing is something that, again, you don't have to just hire a marketer, especially if you have one location, but you need someone thinking about marketing and checking that box for you.
Great advice. And I can agree more. We see a lot of growing practices that the owner's still trying to hold all those functions. And it really starts to bottleneck the business growth because marketing is such a critical part of growing your business that you really need someone at the helm making that happen. And there's a gazillion marketing actions that need to occur within the practice and all those things that we were just talking about today, all the logistics of putting all those things together, working even with outside agencies and technical people and all this kind of other stuff too. So I couldn't agree more that, it's one of those functions you got to look at it implementing in your business earlier on than you think. And that's what, yes, it's an investment because you're paying for that person's salary, but they're really going to help you get to that next level.
Absolutely. And you know what? With all of the data and tools at our fingertips now, marketers have the ability to be more efficient where they can take on other roles within a business, especially a small business where, it takes the pressure off the CEO. It's being done. You don't have to think about it. You're not going home at midnight and doing, all these marketing tasks. I think for a CEO or business owner to be able to really focus on the business and know these key aspects are being taken care of is critical.
Excellent. And so for marketing directors out there for clinics, do you have any advice for them, trying to grow with limited resources?
Yeah, I mean, first thing is understand what the long term goals are for the company, the entity, the brand that you're working with, and create that foundation. You're not going to be able to do everything. So, where do you want to be next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now? And then work backwards and create the foundation and the building blocks in order to get there. When John opened his first facility, he wanted to give out branded materials, and we only had enough budget for like pens. So we had to be strategic in what we were giving out. How do we ensure that we are still out in our communities, that our brand is represented, but working on a limited budget? And you really need to get creative, but understand, okay, this is where we're starting. And then this is where we want to build 6 months from now, 9 months from now, a year from now, and have that communication and collaboration with your CEOs, with whoever is looking over the financials for the company. Oftentimes, it's a small business owner, if it's a smaller entity, and make sure that you're all aligned. This is what I am being given to work with. These are the foundational steps that I am going to make, but this is how we want to see it grow. Are we on the same page? What are the expectations? How are we going to measure it? And then what does that growth look like in terms of additional assets, resources, strategy, and the budget needed? I worked at an agency very early in my career, and I worked with a bunch of different clients. And the worst thing that a client was coming to me with was, you can run a print ad for this month. I'm like, that's just open the window and throw out your money, because you're not getting anything by doing something for a month. It's not going to get you a return. You might as well just put the money back in your pocket and save it. So I think collaboration and clear strategic vision by all stakeholders is important, and creating that foundation of, okay, what do we want to be when we grow up? How do we get there? And create those building blocks.
I love it. Yeah. And so just setting the future, right? And I think that having that marketing director there, it's not just the practice owner trying to come up with that vision, right? They have a vision of where they want the practice to be, or if they want multiple locations or a different size clinic, whatever it may be for them. But having the marketing director envision, okay, what does the marketing need to look like in order to accomplish that, right? At those different phases. And I like how you broke that down for that component. So Kayla, you've given tons of great advice here today, and congratulations on all your success building JAG Physical Therapy up to what it is today. And I'm sure there's going to be some even bigger growth into the future. But if you had to start over today, would you do anything differently?
I would do a lot differently, especially since I grew up here. But I think the one thing is, or was, I wish I had a better understanding of the fast paced adoption of technology, and how, if I would have set it up a little bit early on in the journey, it would have helped us on the back end in terms of, integrating our EMR with certain tools I was doing in digital marketing, and allowing us to automate some of that at an earlier stage to be able to give us the insights or deliver products, services, campaigns faster, easier, more efficiently. I think to go backwards, I wish I would have had that foresight a little bit earlier on, and or the resources in order to develop some of the systems that I have at my fingertips today. Like I mentioned, digital marketing used to be just banner ads. We all kind of learned on the fly, and Google updates their algorithm, it seems like, every single day. So we are still constantly learning. But to be able to set up that infrastructure a little bit earlier, I think would have helped us in the long run. Which is why I continue to leverage some of the tools and conferences. And really, I want to see what the future holds, because I never want to be reacting to something again. And I think that was a little bit of a mix between me growing as a professional, the company's growing as a professional, throw COVID in there, and that totally disrupted everything. But if I could have done something differently, it would have been spending more time and resources on adapting that technology infrastructure earlier on to kind of help us with future growth.
Great advice. And boy, is it a fast-paced changing world. I mean, like you said, Google's changing things every single day. The rise of AI here has made things incredibly fast. And I think we're all trying to figure out all these new technologies and tools. How do we incorporate that into our practice in a way that's meaningful, doesn't waste time, but in a way enhances our capabilities to market our practice, to deliver better quality service, all the above, right? But yeah, it is fast changing. I mean, we used to be predominantly Google search, right, and then search engine marketing with Google Ads, but now that's exploded to ChatGPT and AI search, and now answer engine optimization. Being at the top of the AI in Google, social search optimization now with all the things that have changed with Meta. So yeah, it's a fast-paced digital marketing world for sure.
Yes, and a lot of marketers, like, you'll hear people say, "I'm scared AI is going to take our jobs." No, AI isn't going to take our jobs, but it's going to make our jobs more efficient. And if you're a marketer that's not in tune with that, or utilizing those resources to make you and your team more powerful and efficient, then yeah, that's maybe where we're going to see some attrition. So I preach to everybody: play around with the tools, learn something new every day, but you need to be using it in some way, shape, or form, and have the foresight to understand, this is where it's going. How do I utilize these to help me, not just today, but in the future?
Great advice. And so to learn more about JAG PT, is the website the best place for people to go?
Yep, go to jagpt.com. You can learn all about us. And if you're a patient, you could book online. Again, a very innovative tool, but trying to make things convenient and easy. And you could also look us up on social.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. And I know our audience got a lot out of our conversation here, and learning just the journey there and the brand and all the cool things that you're doing there at JAG Physical Therapy. So thank you for being on the podcast. And for our audience out there, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our Practice Marketing Podcast, as well as our YouTube channel. We'll get tons of advice for you there. And then at practicepromotions.net, we got lots of great marketing downloads and things that you can do to enhance the marketing in your practice. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.